Peter Eliades with you. This is Stock Market Cycles Update for the week ending October 7th, 2022, being recorded on October 8th. I want to state these dates very specifically because, um, you know, people in my business love to be spectacular with their projections. We're about to see one of the greatest advances in market history, or we're about to see the opposite of that, one of the great declines in market history. We love to be dramatic because if you turn out to be right, people say, "Oh my God, how did they know that?" I got my first taste of that almost 50 years ago. I was doing television in Los Angeles, California, and the nation's first financial station, KWHY. And for several weeks, actually a few months, coming into October, December of 1974, before a lot of you out there were born, I kept saying there's a 212-week cycle that's going to make a very important bottom in the stock market. Now, mind you, the market, the overall market, the secondary stocks have been going down for 6 years. They topped out in 1968. It was a horrible bear market. The average share of stock down 50, 60, 70% going into October, December of that year. And I kept saying the week of December 9th to 13th, there's a 212-week cycle due to resolve there. And of course, everyone poo-pooed it and whatever. And we didn't have these fabulous graphics at that time. What I did was I held up an old blue chart that came from Mansfield Chart Service. There were weekly charts along with their daily charts. And I said, "Look, see here." And I pointed on the screen. There's bottom, 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 212 weeks. And it turned out to be the real beginning of my stock market career. Within 6 months of that, I started a newsletter in July of 1975. And I guess, as they say, the rest is history. Anyway, that's my personal story because it's so fulfilling to be able to do something like that, okay? Because you hear people talk about the market and the random walk, and nobody knows where it's going, and it's impossible to forecast it, and fundamentals are the only thing that's important. Okay, I would hope that after 40 or 50 years or more in this business, that I've disproved all that malarkey, okay? Have I been right all the time? No. If I pay attention only to my projections, I've been right an incredible percentage of the time. But sometimes I get a little bit off base and get emotional myself and make a call that I shouldn't be making. This is all a prelude to where we are today in the stock market. It may lead to nothing important. On the other hand, we are in a position now, and I've told you this for the past couple of weeks, we are in a position now to see something generational happen, okay? Usually you're in a setup like this at best every 4 years or so, maybe every 8 years. And that's the setup we're in now. And I'm going to show that to you now. Enough bloviating. Let's get down to the facts and what we see in the market. This is a weekly chart of the S&P 500. This is a projection that is confirmed. Okay, if I put in the 10-week offset, you would see that this would be the projection. The actual projection is midway of this, probably around 3282, and that's plus or minus 10%, measured from the high to the projected low, okay? So here's the big thing, though, and what you very seldom see is if we get down into here, and I show the number for you right here, okay, where you need to get below, and I'll tell you what that is on the daily chart too. Then you do something extraordinary. You break below a 100 to 110 week offset, and get a very significant downside projection. How low? Well, look at this box. On the low side, 1714. On the high side, 2340, rounded off, okay? So at least down to 2340 would be the projection. If you have a weekly median next week below 3266. Now, we're not very close to that right now, so you'll say, well, you're looking for a heck of a big decline, Eliades, before you can claim this projection. And that's true, I am, and I think there's a possibility of it. In a second, we're going to look at the NDX, and it doesn't require anything as dramatic as this requires, okay? But my point is, you very seldom get into a position where you have a configuration like this that can give you life changing projections, perhaps to the downside. Who in the world thinks there's a chance in the world of the S&P getting down to 2000? Whether it's the next couple of weeks or the next couple of years, they'll think you're crazy because they've been trained by this bull market. Oh, don't worry about it. The Fed will take care of it. Oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, there are pullbacks, but I'm in for the long term. Worry about it, okay? That's what I'm saying. Okay, so this is the S&P. I wrote down what was required on the daily chart. Okay, on a daily chart, within the next week, you would require a daily mid price, median price, signal price to be below 32, 36, 92. Okay, that's a heck of a ways down. You're talking about all the way down here somewhere towards the lower end of the projection. But the projection allows for it. This is a confirmed projection right here. Okay, so that allows for it. It doesn't tell you you're going to get there next week. It could be a few weeks off. It could be next week. But it's dramatically apparent that we need to be watching this next week, okay? Because this is the projection you could get. Okay, let's go and look at the same thing on the NASDAQ 100. Okay, here you go. Now, see how different this is? This is dramatic because you're on it. You're on the numbers now. In fact, you broke below the weekly signal price, the midpoint of the week. Last week broke below the initial part of the offset, okay, and gave a preliminary downside projection all the way down to 7205 and change, okay? That's way down here. If we confirm this downside projection, nominal 4-year downside projection, and this projection, if it's met, tells us we're almost certainly going to do that. See, the difference between the S&P and the NASDAQ 100 is you can make an argument on the S&P that, well, you could get down there quickly and turn around quickly, and you won't get that 4-year projection. It's very, very difficult to make that argument here, okay? This is a confirmed nominal 20-week downside projection on the NASDAQ 100, 9408.88 to 10,192.89, okay? Now, what do you need to confirm this full projection next week? Don't need that much, folks. Let's take a look at it. Next week, this projection will be confirmed with a weekly median, the mid price of the high and low for the week, below 10,942. Where's that? Well, I'll show you where it is. It's right about here. It's just below the lows of the week, okay? The low for the week here is 10,967. Last week it was 10,985. So if we break big next week, you don't even require that big a break, just a continuation of this decline. Any weekly median price below 10,942 would confirm this 4-year downside projection, okay? This is the one, not this one. This one's already given and confirmed. This one, this is dramatic. Okay, take a look at it. You see the lower end of that projection? 5,155.25. The upper side, 72.10.75. Dramatic downside projections, folks. So, again, these opportunities or these conjunctions, these coincidental factors very seldom occur in the market, okay? I mean, you can wait literally for years to get a downside crossing. And sometimes you'll get one and the previous high will be up here somewhere and the crossing will be here and you get a projection down here. That's not what's happening here. Here's the previous high. Here's the midpoint. This would be the projection window, dramatically lower. How dramatic? Well, let's get really dramatic and give you the lower end of this. 51.55 1/4. Okay, now nothing says you're going to get down to this far side. The projection would be satisfied up here, okay? But if we get down to the lower side, that's an additional over 50%, like 53% from here to here. Okay. All right, now I'm going to point out something else. This is not coming from me. I have given setups in the past for potential crashes. Crashes are generational things, okay? For anyone to attempt to predict a crash in the market, and I mean a real crash, I'm talking about down 35% in a week or two, okay? That's a crash. A big move down 8, 10, 12%, that's crash like, but that's not a real crash. Crashes are 1929, 1987, perhaps something like a crash in 2008. But that's what I'm talking about, the 29 and 87 type situation, okay? And so I am not going to predict that. I'm not predicting that now. As I told you, if we get a nominal 4-year downside projection, the general rule is that a projection becomes overdue within 1/4 of its nominal length because you figure it goes up 2 years, down 2 years. The projection's given 1 year into the 2-year up move, the downside projection given 1 year down into the 2-year down move, okay? So you say it becomes overdue after a year. So we're talking about October of next year. That's when it becomes overdue. But I'll tell you, with my experience, sometimes these projections are met, boom, like that. And if there ever were a time when something like that could happen, I believe it's ripe to occur now. That's why I showed you a link, and I'm going to relink it again. Some people looked at it, some people have not. I showed you a link to Aaron Brickman's video that he went through these marvelous details about crashes and how he foresaw. He's calling for a crash, okay? I'm not calling for a crash. I'm saying it's possible, especially with the projections I have here. But he is saying there's a very, very real chance for a crash to occur. So if that's the type of thing that interests you, I strongly recommend you take a look at the video. It's over an hour long. It's about an hour and a half, but you can put it to fast speed, 2 times speed. You'll still be able to understand what he says. 1.5 to 175 speed is probably a little better for understanding. Okay. All right. I'm not going to go through the little things, the short terms and the whatevers, because this is such a very important time in equities. I'm going to concentrate on the equities. There are a lot of other entities that are important here and that I would like to look at. But for now, I and you should be concentrating on the stock market because that's obviously the big, big market of all of them and the leader for so many of these other things that we see. So I want what I have shown you to remain with you over the weekend. The most dramatic chart is the NDX chart. The S&P is what ifs. What if we have a really big decline next week and we can generate these 4-year projections confirmed finally. The NDX is inches away from doing that, okay? In fact, let me take a second and I gave you what the weekly reading would be, but that requires waiting till the end of the week. Let me show you what the daily reading would have to be to confirm the 4-year downside for the NDX. I think we've showed this to you before over the past week or so, but let's show it again just to confirm it for you. So over the next 1, 2, 3, at least the next 3 days, maybe 4 days, the low end of the continuum is at 10,833. All that would be required to confirm that significantly lower 4-year projection would be a mid price for the day now of 10,833. Okay, so that's what, 200 points down from where we are. I mean, we've been going down 300 or 400 points at a clip. So we could very easily see that on Monday of this coming week. Okay, so pay attention to that. The low part of the continuum is at 10,833.33. Any mid price for the day, average of high and low, lower than that, confirms a nominal 2-year downside projection. And that projection calls for this incredible number, 51, 55, 25 to 72, 10, 75. And that's it, folks. Oh, something very important. I will be traveling. It's my wedding anniversary on Sunday, but I will be traveling Monday morning, going to Phoenix, Arizona. Actually, I'm going to Phoenix to see a couple of very good friends in the business, Tom DeMark and Larry Williams, a couple of older legends. Tom's a young guy. He's only about 65. He's in his mid-60s, but Larry and I are in our 80s. And so it's going to be great to get together. I haven't seen either one of them in a long time. So I'm not promising you what the update schedule will be next week. I'm going to try to continue to do an update every day. It might be very short, just updating you on what's going on, because obviously it could be a very important week. But I wanted to let you know that I will be traveling, and I'll be gone until I think I come back Thursday evening of next week. So by Friday, by the weekend update, a week from now, I will be doing a full update again. In between now and then, I can't promise you how long the updates will be. But believe me, I'll stay on top of it with you. We should be looking at the potential for a very important week. Thank you for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.